In the world of gangsters and mafia, the first rule is simple: never double-cross the bigger fish in the sea. Some, however, crave a thrill, deliberately ignoring that rule, hoping the big mafia lords won't notice a small commotion. But then they are always proved wrong. The kings of the underworld don't hesitate to remind everyone around them who runs their world. This is the story of Peter Jaggers, who made just the same mistake with the drug barons of Colombia. What happened next served as a brutal reminder to all: you never mess with the cartels. South Africa is located at the southern tip of Africa, and its location serves as the perfect gateway between different continents. South America is a major source of cocaine, Asia is a source of heroin, and Europe is the ultimate market for drugs. The only common transit point between these three is South Africa. It has extensive coastlines and busy ports like Durban, Cape Town, and Port Elizabeth, which contribute to it being a key entry and exit point for drug shipments. In addition, the corrupt police network of the South readily facilitates the smuggling of drugs. This allows South Africa's organized criminal groups to collaborate with international cartels and act as middlemen or drug distributors. Peter Jaggers was a prominent figure in Cape Town's criminal underworld. He was the leader of the terrible Jazzers gang, which was affiliated with the infamous 28's gang of South Africa. He was renowned for drug trafficking and other criminal activities. Organized crime is not just limited to South Africa, it is also spread in different regions of the world. Colombia and Bulgaria also have a vast network of drug lords and mafia. When the Colombian cartel struck a drug deal with the Bulgarian mafia, they resorted to Jaggers for the transport of their shipment. Jaggers had been long known to have established the Berta fishing experience vessel, a 6 fishermen's team. This vessel was built purely to transport illegal goods and drugs in the guise of fishing, and there was hidden storage in the boats where the drugs were kept, and nobody suspected the 6 innocent fishermen. Colombian drug mafia is known as the Cartel. It is one of the top drug organizations operating in different regions of the world and is based mainly in Colombia. It was first established by Pablo Escobar. Since then, the cartel has been involved in different crimes, majorly involving drug trafficking, drug distribution, and human trafficking as well.
Hacemos fiestas, hermano. Yo me dedico a los negocios ilícitos. Estamos manejando droga, cocaína, heroína, marihuana.
The Bulgarian mafia is also one of the major drug mafia. Its area of business mainly includes the illegal smuggling of weapons, drugs, and cigarettes to terrorist groups mainly in North America. The police of both these regions readily try to dismantle these organizations, but their networks are so well built and deep that nobody dares raise any questions on them. Peter was successfully running his vessel when the Colombians trusted him with their R1 billion worth of cocaine. With this much dope, he got tempted by greed and decided to have some fun.
But this one was extraordinary, and this one was different. It was not only the sheer quantity of drugs, it was also the level of involvement of the crew.
As much as the mafia likes to go against the law, they abide by their strict code. That is how the world of organized crime works. However, if anyone betrays them or tries to even go behind their back, they make sure nobody repeats the same mistake. In March, the boat with the big drug consignment set off in the waters. It was meant to reach the South African port where Peter and his co-workers awaited it. On the shipment, there were almost 500 to 600 kilograms of cocaine. But in between, it ran out of fuel and the fishermen were stranded for multiple hours due to bad weather conditions and a shortage of fuel. A call for help was made, and after almost 6 hours, they were rescued. This simple mission of rescuing the innocent 6 men cost R1 billion to 2 parties. The boat had gone missing, which means the cocaine had also gone with it, or maybe it was lying at the bottom of the ocean. This was the story Peter told the Colombians and Bulgarians, and he failed to provide any accountability to the cartel. Some people speculate that there was more to the story. There were rumors that he was playing a double game. He had used a second boat to transport the drugs to some other location, and the whole disappearance of drugs story was orchestrated by Peter himself. Now, the guys who run a whole mafia were not absurd enough to believe this made-up story. They had no intentions of letting this slide as easily as Peter had hoped. They wanted to meet him to discuss this matter in person, but he was reluctant to see them. He was sure if he confronted them face to face, there would be more fists flying than words exchanged. Avoiding them was the only way to save his life, but how could he survive in the criminal world when he was just an underdog to the bigger mafia lords? After multiple failed attempts to set up a meeting, the Colombians were done trying to talk it out. They were ready to remind Peter who the real was. On June 30th, Peter took a flight from Cape Town International Airport and landed at the OR Tambo International Airport. He was visiting Gauteng with his business partner for a meeting. The cartel couldn't miss this opportunity and they struck their first. Peter and his business partner were abducted from the Emperor's Palace in Gauteng on July 3rd. His wife reported his disappearance to the police on July 5th when she couldn't reach him for a couple of days. The police started investigating the case, but they couldn't find any clues. Considering his previous altercations with the cartel, they were speculating that they must be behind the kidnapping. If the Colombian cartel were really behind it, they would have done a fine job not leaving a trace behind them. Eventually, after some days, Peter's family received a voice note for ransom, and that confirmed all speculations. It was indeed the cartel. Their modus operandi was to ask for ransoms after kidnapping or to abduct their rivals' relatives. Then they would only release them if their demands were met. It was their way of making sure nobody messed with them. There were 2 voice notes from the kidnappers, both stating that Peter's safe return could only be made sure if their shipment was returned to them within 24 hours. However, his family was unable to do so. 4 months after the kidnapping of the 2 partners, on October 11th, the nightmares of Peter's family came to reality. 2 dead bodies were found in a free-stated dam. The 2 men were submerged underwater and their bodies were tied with sandbags and chains. The dead bodies were decomposing and hence it was difficult to identify them. However, features like body tattoos were used for identification, and his death proved to all that nobody outplays the Colombian cartel or the Bulgarian mafia. The Hawks investigated the case, but they did not let anyone in on the sensitive details. It was maybe due to the involvement of the international mafia. If they highlighted the involvement of other mafia lords in their world, they would have to air their dirty laundry as well. So what happens in South Africa stays in South Africa. The people of South Africa had mixed reactions to the death of Peter Jaggers. He ran a few non-profit organizations, and for some he was an angel. His family was broken at his sad demise. His friends also deeply grieved his loss, and they shared his photos and big memorial messages for him on different social media platforms. But some who knew him just because of his criminal activities were glad. They shared their happiness about the removal of menace from Earth. According to them, South Africa was safer by one gangster. Peter Jaggers' death was Cartel's message to the gangs of South Africa that if anyone tries to double-cross them, they would make sure they are never able to see the light of the day again. When it comes to vengeance, the mafia never lets go. That is why the mafia wars go on from generation to generation. It takes the end of one family for the war to end. Peter Jaggers had messed with the wrong people and they served him right. But if such organized criminal groups keep on killing whoever they like, we can only imagine what will become of the world we live in. That was it for today's video. Do you think the death of Peter Jaggers was justified or was it unfair? Do share your insights in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share. For more such videos, subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for the terrific details of the mafia world.